There are many problematic trends currently arising and will arise in the future for project delivery methods within the construction industry. The main issue that this report will focus on for the future of project delivery is industrialization of industry process. This report will be given an analysis and description of industrialization and the effects it has had on the construction industry, both positive and negative, mainly negative. Some positive effects include how industrialization has led to innovations in the construction process, which has made the process faster and more efficient. Although industrialization provides benefits, there are also negative effects that come with it. In regards to environmental matters and issues, including the natural environment, social environment, political environment, and economical environment. Industrialization has brought change which mainly benefits the construction industry and the construction process. However, a few issues have arisen from these changes and affected the natural environment, social environment, political environment, and economical environment. We will need to adapt to these changes. This report will also discuss current and potential future developments that will be able to solve these current issues and how it could benefit industrialization in the long term. Through identifying and analyzing the issues that industrialization has had, solutions are discussed which will further benefit the construction future of project delivery in Australia. Industrialization of construction processes involve the process of manufacturing a product within a workshop and assembling it together at the site rather than doing both at site. Industrialization has multiple advantages attached to it in the long term. These include economic diversification and reduction of unemployment. Industrialization is also used to increase production speed of major products in the long term. This is achieved by replacing manual labor by implementing mechanized machinery that is made specifically for mass production of goods. Industrialization achieves these goals by implementing many modern processing methods such as end-to-end integration of construction parts, on-site fabrication, which gives more way to incorporation of value-added off-site manufacturers and assemblies. Building construction as plant prefabricating materials save time as it is done while site develops and foundation are being done. This in turn allows for the material to easily be placed on site as it has been pre-made and is readily available whenever needed instead of having to wait for foundations and site developments to be completed. This in the long term will increase efficiency of the project and increase productivity within the workforce as everything is readily available and workers do not need to wait for things to be completed before starting something else. Although industrialization does have multiple long-term benefits attached to it, it also has multiple long-term negative effects to the environment, the natural environment, social environment, economic environment, and political environment. Some of these problems to the different types of environments include a larger gap between the poor and the rich, labor and capital. Industrialization runs mainly off natural resources, meaning that with less natural resources available in the land, the temperature of the earth will slowly but surely need to increase in temperature to maintain balance. Industrialization of processes includes very long and hard-working hours. This in turn affects the employees' mental and physical health as they will be very tired from work, and the long hours that they work will affect the nutrients that they are able to intake throughout the day, and they will have less sleep. This in the long run is a very problematic trend that is currently occurring and has a dominant effect on different environments of industrialization such as social, political, natural, and economic.
Industrialization was first introduced by England in the 1800s to increase employment. Industrialization of industry processes is not possible or available in every country. With this being the case, dependency on developed countries and countries with industrialization are increased. This creates an uneven balance in political wealth and growth in some countries than others. From industrialization in its early stages, it has led to many wars of colonization and imperialism. It has caused a lot of problems worldwide, affecting mainly those who had nothing to do with it and who were not involved. Industrialization allows for some countries to take advantage of others due to what it has created an even more unbalanced political agenda. Many movements and ideas arose due to the negative impact of industrialization. Some of these movements and ideas include capitalism, which is the idea that the government should have no control over the general public's business and should stay away from it. Communism, which is the idea that all businesses should be controlled by the government. Socialism, which is the idea that is between capitalism and modernism, meaning that the government should have some control over businesses but not complete control. Regions around the world become better due to it being industrialized. This led to competition and problems between nations to have those regions for its own benefit, once again increasing the imbalance in power. A possible development in response to the negative political effects industrialization has is to introduce industrialization to nations that have never heard of it and to make it accessible to the nations who cannot afford it. By doing this, balance can slowly be restored, less wars can occur, and dependence on specific countries can be decreased. This will help in the long run as due to all countries having the same processes, less biased decisions can be made and balance of money and power between nations can be restored as they all are receiving equal amount from having equal technology and processes. Industrialization has led to many innovations in the construction industry. Projects are much larger and stronger than ever before. As a result, many proposals for large apartments, buildings, centers, etc. have been made. This will generate a huge number of issues in the political environment as new larger buildings will need new standards to follow to ensure when delivering the project that it will not have any negative effects on its surrounding environment. Industrialization has made the construction process much easier and faster, thus buildings such as apartments have become more popular. However, most local councils only have regulations for small buildings, but as we are seeing across Western Sydney and other growing areas in Australia, apartments are slowly making their way into smaller suburbs. Therefore, the local councils will have to adapt and create new regulations for the growing number of apartments being built. The large growing number of new projects will put a huge strain on the political environment as they have to work harder and faster to deal with the quicker construction process due to industrialization.
In terms of the economical environment, industrialization causes a wide gap between rich and poor people within an economy due to a division of labour and capital. Those who labour will tend to decrease, while those who own capital will accumulate excessive profits derived from industrialization, which in fact widens the gap between the poor and the rich instead of closing it. This is a very big issue as over the years gender gaps and job gaps have lowered and everything has started to be much more settled than it previously was. Industrialization will end up increasing the gap that has been decreasing and will make it worse than it was before. Whilst industrialization creates jobs and promotes GDP within a nation, it can also have a negative effect on the economy, as the wage gap between the poor and the rich will not benefit the government, as they will have to reevaluate their methods to try and decrease the gap between the labour and capital. Also, due to the widespread difference of other political, social and financial issues which may arise and make things worse for the government. Industrialization has also widened the gap between neighbouring countries, creating an unbalance of power and money in the construction industry. In relation to the construction industry, the rapid increase of apartment buildings in Australia, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne, to accommodate for the rapid increase of population, has sent the economical state into a spiral. The industry has come to a standstill as the quality of buildings has made potential clients sceptical. Industrialisation and lower industry standards have both contributed to a lower quality of work, leaving owners and the government with a large remediation bill. Research conducted by the ABS has shown that 70 to 97% of all apartments within tall buildings have been left with defects. This is a large number considering that they amount of 500,000 apartments. The rapid increase of these apartments have destabilised the housing markets and prices have dropped, leaving investors with losses rather than profits. A method that will surely repair the damage done in the long run is by regulating industry standards stricter than it already is. Although construction prices may increase due to this method, better quality buildings will be constructed, thus positively affecting the housing and property market. Some other strategies that may be utilised to address the wage gap between labour and capital as a result of industrialisation includes government intervention, such as widely distributed raise of income tax brackets, investing into the education of citizens, in particular trade schools, and the rise of the minimum wage within the building industry. By investing into things like educating the people, lifting minimum wages, and raising tax brackets, the poor are given a hand in improving their quality of life, thus allowing the gap between labour and capital to diminish.
The main social disadvantage caused by industrialisation is long working hours. Due to the extensive work hours industrialisation brings, workers lose their individuality as a person as they are always repeating the same routine every day and are within confined environmental areas for an extensive amount of time. Due to this, individuals tend to lose their sense of individuality and feel like robots. Also, they have limited job satisfaction and feel alienated. Furthermore, industrialization lowers the worker's quality of life and leads to many other social problems such as stress and psychological disorders. On top of these issues, long working hours lead to poor nutrition and the consumption of fast foods, which do not fulfill the regular human dietary needs. This in turn increases the risk of diseases. In Japanese, the word karoshi is interpreted as death by overwork, and this is legally recognized by Japan's constitution. In 2015, an incident occurred where an employee of Japan's largest advertisement firms, Dentsu, committed suicide because of the unreasonable long work durations which took a mental toll on her. The case gained a large amount of attention throughout the country where this was a common occurrence prevalent among ordinary working class citizens. Dentsu's CEO resigned as they received government penalties for the violation of labour standards, but it decided to make changes within, such as lowering work hours and turning off lights by 10 p.m. to force any employees out. Although not much has been done by the Japanese government to ensure the social well-being of workers, the case is a reflection of the looming issue that industrialization causes to the social environment and to the well-being of workers. This is prevalent within the construction industry as many workers and labourers are working unhealthy hours. Another example of the detrimental social effects industrialization can produce in the construction of Sydney's famous Harbour Bridge. This construction of the Harbour Bridge during a phase of rapid industrial growth was responsible for negative impacts on many families. To begin, during its construction, 16 people died due to unsafe work methods, lack of safety measures and devices, and lack of consideration for employee safety. Its construction also impacted the relations of workers with their families due to the extensive work hours. It is reported by various sources that the Harbour Bridge caused many divorces. Also, the low wages were not enough to compensate for the emotional damage caused to Australian families. Current developments in place to help this issue is to implement shift switches within jobs, meaning that every 8 hours or so the current people working will leave and a new group of people will start work. This will increase the productivity of the workers as they will be able to have more rest, get more nutrients in, and spend more time with friends and family, increasing their overall work ethic. Furthermore, this method will increase the process of industrialization as the workers will be more motivated to work more harder as their bodies are recovering better and also because their quality of life has increased. They will be happier and more satisfied with the job that they are doing.
The most common byproduct caused by industrialization is pollution. There are many more negative effects which industrialization brings to the environment, and these include global warming, severe increase in air pollution, and the degradation of ecological systems. Global warming is increased from industrialization because if multiple industrialized companies are enclosed within a certain space to perform repetitive tasks for long hours, and the general temperature of these places will be dramatically increased in the long term, which will also affect the Earth's general temperature as well in the long term. Industrialized workplaces pollute the environment a lot. Industrialized workplaces tend to be outside of the city and are placed in rural areas. The negative effects of industrialized workplaces go on to affect the ecological environment. Outside of it, thus creating the degradation of ecological systems. Industrialized companies are often not forced to pay for any environmental damage that they cause. This in turn affects human society in terms of widespread pollution, excessive waste, and deforestation. Most of the processes within industrialization require natural resources to run. No new technological advancements have been made to replace these natural resources or help with industrializations. The use of natural resources at such an excessive rate is detrimental, as one day natural resources will run out and will make a developed world turn into an undeveloped one. Industrialization wasn't a global phenomenon, meaning that it wasn't worldwide. This greatly affects technological advancement and development in the industrialization area, as not everyone is thinking or worrying about it. With this in mind, technological innovation to counteract current industrialization processes can greatly affect the current places that industrialization is being used socially and environmentally. Rapid economic growth, industrialization, and urbanization has led to the rise of extreme air pollution at an excessive rate, which has caused the dominant negative effects on the health and visibility of the population and rapid climate change.
Industrialization of construction processes involves the process of manufacturing a product within a workshop and assembling it together at the site rather than doing both at the site. Industrialization of construction processes have many advantages to them, but these advantages also have a downside to them, An advantage of industrialization is that it reduces unemployment rates, but the downside is that these reductions often go with extended working hours, which in turn affects employees' health physically, mentally, and emotionally. Industrialization has many innovations in construction processes, increases both its efficiency and speed. However, this change has forced the natural environment, social environment, political environment, and economical environment to all adapt to this industrial change, and issues were created as a result. By identifying these issues, solutions were then found to help counter these issues, thus reducing the negative effect industrialization of the construction process has had on project delivery in Australia.